Alright, what's poppin', people? We are here today with, I can even title this, I'm gonna go with Crobat. Now, when we got our tier shifts, this was definitely one of the Pokemon that I looked at and was just like, excuse you? You know, along with things like Zygarde 10%, and Tyrantrum, where I just look at it and go, get real close to my computer screen and go, am I reading that right? Because it's just like, sure, we've had Pokemon like Tyrantrum and Inu before. Quite literally last gen, it was here. And seeing Zygarde 10% drop to Inu makes a whole lot of sense. It was in PU. I think it's pretty easy to explain why. Big Daddy Zygarde was always going to be what people defaulted to, so his dog form was never going to get run. And I mean, am I surprised Crobat dropped? No, I'm mostly just surprised how far it dropped. I'm surprised that it went all the way to Inu, because I just look at it and I'm like, this is a fully evolved Pokemon. Why is this down here? I feel like surely someone would love to run a fast Pokemon that learns U-turn and defog, right? And the most that I can assume for why it did fall is because, you look at it, it's not a legendary. I don't know, something like that. It's not like Omastar where maybe you'd see on some rain teams, so, it'd get usage like that. It's not like any weather Pokemon, maybe even like Dracozolt. Obviously that retained some usage up there because it got an ability. You saw Arctozolt's usage rise up a whole bunch, and it go all the way to RU. Apparently even being discussed as probably ban-worthy in RU. Ain't that a trip? But it's just like, I never thought I'd see a day where Crobat falls to Inu, because it's always been really good in some higher tier. At least it's like Gen 5, it's always been pretty good in UU to my understanding. Both from playing and just looking at the metagame. So to see it fall down was pretty cool, because I knew it'd be super good. And unfortunately, yeah, we'll probably lose it in a week when we have the mid-month shifts. However, this Pokemon's been everywhere. And there are a couple reasons for that. One, it compresses a lot into one Pokemon, so fast pivot, that's always good. Defogger, that's always good. Holds heavy-duty boots, that automatically makes you a great Pokemon. And I think the big selling point for it over Golbat is pretty clear as well, right? Heavy-duty boots. So, like, obviously Golbat's bulkier, gets to go Violite, but being so fast and being able to run boots gives you more or less the same longevity. Or, well, it gives you significantly greater longevity than Golbat, because, yeah, Golbat, it's bulkier, so it takes like a hit from, say, Life Orb Sceptile better, but you're having to keep switching into hazards. At one point I was told, oh yeah, heavy-duty boots are going to be what people run Golbat. No, I'm not running boots on Golbat. I need that Pokemon to tank hits. And I feel like Rogue Rock Slides from Sceptile, just Psychics from Whimsicott, I need extra insurance versus those, and despite boots being super good, despite Stealth Rock being really annoying, you need a Violite on Golbat. I do think the speed is also just something that's so nice. Being this fast lets you threaten such a greater variety of Pokemon without even worrying about being hit back. So things like Sceptile, like Whimsicott, like Rabombi, Crobat just gets the leg up on him. And it's just so good on every archetype, because that combination of speed, you're not too passive, because Crobat, Brave Bird's a strong move. It's got enough attack to where you're like, okay, I'm not just super passive. It's a Pokemon that you have to kind of respect Brave Birding you late because of how fast it is. And of course, in you right now, just as a tier, a pivot like this good, well, think of like Porygon 2, how good it is. It just fits super well into the tier because of how many great wall breakers we have. Things like Aegialola, Drampa, Tauros, Sneasel, Centiskorch kind of counts as a breaker, I suppose. All these Pokemon synergize really well with Crobat, particularly because a lot of them can take advantage of the Pokemon that are going to try to switch into Crobat, so things like Regirock, Rhydon, Stunfisk, Galar, Rotom, I guess, to name a few. A lot of those Pokemon I just named can take advantage of, multiple of those walls. And so it just got a great spot in the metagame. Even just looking at like synergy with other Pokemon. And you combine that with all of the things that it offers a team, and well, you've got one of the like best Pokemon in the meta. Also, I need to name this set right here. Whoopsie doodle doo. Anyhow, so here's the standard Crobat set. This is pretty much what everyone's been running. BB, U-Turn, Roost, Defog. Again, just I will say this as well. I feel like NU's hazard control situation right now, I don't know if it's actually as centralized around Crobat as I think it is. But I was trying to figure out like how I could fit other forms on my team, and I came up with like Defog, Drampa, and not a whole lot else. And I don't know if it's because Crobat's just that good, or if it's because in comparison to like last month, we have just like what we were previously running is just now really bad. I feel like it's probably the former. I think Crobat's just that good and that justifiable in every team. And when we lose it, we'll probably see more other options like Defog Whimsy, Defog Rotom. Unfortunately, we lost Silvally Steel, but we'll make do with what else we have. Regardless, this is the premier Pokemon pretty much in the tier at the moment if you're disregarding like Porygon 2. Because it's just so good at defogging, so you want that on every team, more or less, unless you run heavy-duty boots on every Pokemon. I think the interesting thing, too, with Crobat is because of its great speed, you got a lot of leeway with how much you want to invest, so max HP is the only real given here. I think there are a few benchmarks you can look at. I think you can look at about, where was it? Here. I think you can look at this much speed. That gives you Whimsicott, and then you can, like, dump into... That wasn't what I was supposed to do. And then you can dump... That still wasn't what I was supposed to do. You can dump into Special Defense so that you're taking those Moonblasts better. Maybe you're switching in an Eggy, a Giga Drain as well. You can take those better. You can switch. You can just dump into Attack if you want Brave Bird to do a little bit more. And I also think another benchmark is, like, going... I think it's here that you would need to do. And this gives you the jump on Rabombi. And then again, you can, you know, attack dump, a little bit of bulk. I like to do it into attack. And the last few EVs into attack. Again, I just like getting that oomph out of Brave Bird. And, you know, it's nice to get a little bit more chip on something like Weezing as it comes in. Or maybe even Vaporeon if it just wants to sit in front of you. And then there's also even the option, if you really need bulk on a team. Again, Crobat's so fat. Like, Golbat has to invest... What is it? Like 176 speed EVs with a Jolly Nature to outspeed Life Orb Glade. You're even above Duraludon with this. I think if you really wanted to... Oh, you're fucking Toxic. My god, this Pokemon is so good. But I think it's pretty easy to even just go full Spadef. This would probably be more on a like really bulky team. But this thing has comparable bulk to Golbat if you do this, with significantly better speed. And I'm talking about like Golbats that go for the Gallade benchmark, just to clarify there. Because obviously then you only have like 80 EVs left that you get invested into your bulk. It's a little depressing. But to get this kind of set, this lets you take, you know, aforementioned moves even better. I think you could even take an Eggy A's Draco from full, which is, you know, that's really nice. To have that just extra insurance versus it. And again, I feel like there's probably even room to to go for your EVing from here. Maybe you want to go for outspeeding Silvally Fairy, which commonly run Rock Slide at the moment. So maybe you want to be able to pick it off with a Brave Bird before it KOs you. Something like this maybe works. The point to take from this, obviously, is that Crobat's got a lot that you can do with your EVs. And a lot of it is just because its speed tier lets you have so much more leeway. Here you have a Pokemon that's designed to just generally be a nuisance to other teams. Constantly being able to safely defog, safely pivot, safely recover. Having a high speed, being able to outspeed so much with not much investment required, it's helpful. And since I talked about just being annoying to teams, I'll even jump this set here and go to the Stallbreaker set. Now I think you can imagine Super Fang is slashed here, but I like having a move that guarantees damage versus any target. But Super Fang's nice as well if you want to be able to break down Gallarfisks, your Rhydons, your Regirocks. Lets you get past those even more effectively. But this set's just annoying Because again, I feel like on this kind of set, you'd want just max speed so that you even threaten every other Crobat you'll be running into as effectively as possible. Again, I feel like you probably could drop the speed, but I wouldn't mind on this set beating other Crobats, because you're not like, you're not as worried, I guess, about, I don't even know what I'm trying to go on about here. Disregard that. But again, I feel like this set's just kind of annoying. Admittedly, it's hard to talk much about these two sets because this is really what you see all the time. But Golbat ran this set more or less quite frequently in Sun and Moon, especially when it wasn't doing like, you know, Brave Bird U-turn defog roost shenanigans. And you would commonly see this kind of thing on stall, and I don't know if I'd run this on stall. I haven't really touched stall, so I don't know if you want defog bat on those builds. But the big thing is with this set is it lets you beat up on balance teams so hard. I find that balance generally has an okay matchup into stall depending on components, because you may have tools like Wish and Heal Bell of your own, and that does make stall's matchup a lot worse into you, because you're able to match their longevity a bit better, while also having these ways of directly pressuring them with, you know, breakers like Eggy, Sneasel, Duraludon, etc. And this kind of set just gives you some extra leeway around them. You're able to disrupt what they want to do. And it's just generally a helpful tool. And we get this set now. On day one, as all enlightened players of any metagame will do, they'll call a Pokemon broken right away. You know, you never need to test anything at all. And while I will say there are sometimes cases where that's pretty clear. You know, if we dropped Mewtwo into NE right now, no, he can go. Mewtwo can go. But do you get, like, I hate it when people do this. Let Pokemon exist in a metagame for a little bit. People need to play with something before they can develop an actually coherent thought. And I don't mean play like 2 games and go, oh, look how easy it was to sweep while nobody knows how to build defensive cores out. I'm sorry, I'm ranting really badly right now. The point to take from this is, this set, people were really hyped up for. Because this coverage is really good. You know, not a whole lot really wants to deal with this kind of coverage. There are a couple issues with Nasty Plot Crobat, and it's why you really haven't seen it beyond the first few days of the metagame, at least in my opinion. One is 70 basic special attack is kind of trash. You just don't hit very hard, even though you have Hurricane. I think this is a new move Crobat got this gen. You just don't hit very hard unless you've boosted. And even when you've boosted, you don't break as reliably as you'd like to. You know, Porygon 2's walling you forever. Something like a Regirock is still not as phased as by your move as you'd like it to be, and then it can cripple you with maybe Thunder Wave or just hit you with a Rock Slide. I think this isn't a bad Pokemon on dual screens, and it kind of even improves your matchup against opposing Aurora Veil teams, because you've got Infiltrator, and so you set up, maybe you're behind your own Veil, your opponent sets their Veil, you don't care about the Veil, and so you're continuously hitting their team with these, you know, boosted attacks through Veil. So I do think there's that interaction. It also gives offense teams, in general, Crobat does this, a really good answer to, like, Toxicroak, which can sometimes be a bit of a nuisance with, you know, priority. In general, Crobat's just super good at handling fighting types, which is just nice. But I don't know. I feel like this set's just kind of one of those in theory, on paper kind of deals, where it has a lot of tools that you want in a Pokemon. It has a lot of traits where you go, oh, that's really cool. I could make this work. And then you put it in practice, and you feel like you're left wanting more. I feel like in general with HO, you don't want to have a slot taken up by Crobat. There are generally better sweepers. Things like, you know, Swords Dance Still Valley forms are still really good. Turtonator is amazing on those builds. Dragon Dance Sceptile is pretty good on those builds. I even, in NU Snake, someone brought like Weakness Policy, Swords Dance Unburdened Sceptile. That was cool to see. You know, something like Toxicroak will always find a way to finagle a, you know, team slot onto an HO build. It's just like, I look at Crobat and I go, feel like there's something better I could have here. And other options, I don't have anything here slotted in. And it's mostly because a lot of the other option talk is with regards to this set. Now, we call this standard Crobat. Also, I'm going to set this back to serious nature because I need it to be the default if I'm not going to have anything in the EVs. And a lot of what I want to talk about with standard Crobat involves what Golbat has done in previous gens. It's mostly a matter of if you just want Crobat on your team for like the typing and the speed, and you have hazard removal somewhere else, maybe you could go Toxic. You know, maybe you don't need Defog, or maybe you go Toxic over U-turn, or maybe you go Taunt here so that you can beat certain Stealth Rockers that don't have as great a matchup into you, or you just want to shut down as a Pokemon. You'll notice that I am kind of struggling to truly dedicate myself to any of these other moves. And again, that's mostly because this set's just so good. I'd show my team builder, but I don't want to leak teams during NU Snake. I have more than one team with Crobat. I'll put it that way. I mean, God, this mod is so helpful, and I'm gonna be so annoyed when we lose it. But I guess we'll probably be getting another 10 Pokemon in return anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And let's go to like actual other options. We haven't seen much divergence from standard. I imagine something like Choice Banded Crobat works to some degree with just these two moves, because all you're ever using is Brave Bird and U-turn. I guess we can give it Sleep Talk and Cross Poison though if you really want to be that way. I mean, we've seen this, Bandbat has been run in previous generations and other tiers. I think the main gripe you would have with this set is there are other fast wall breakers that are better. And in addition, of course, this mod's forced to U-turn bot pretty hard. And CB U-turn isn't really doing that much to a lot of the resistances anyway. So you may as well just be a utility set providing more to your team overall if you want to run U-turn on Crobat. Maybe you could do Sharp Beak even if you didn't want to have to be locked into a move. I don't know. I'm kind of reaching. Because, again, the standard set is the standard set for a reason. But as I think about it for Crobat, this is a really cool Pokemon. I'll just I'll show you this. Show difference in bulk. What you get with Golbat. So, alright, that's not divisible by 4. If you want to hit the Gallade benchmark, let's assume Golbats all want to do that. 206. And in a Violet, it takes it up to 309. If I go max Spidef, that's 284. Obviously a little bit more HP, it's only 20, so it doesn't matter that much. The bulk isn't that much of a drop-off. It's probably something like 5% to 7% more damage taken. That's not based on any math that I know, that's just a guess. You see, the bulk isn't that far off. Physical defense is obviously a bit worse. But, it's just, why would you use Golbat right now? We have Crobat. That's going to be it from this. I hope you have joined the Church of Crobat after watching this video, as this is such a great Pokemon. Every time I make a team, I feel like there's always I get, at least if I'm building balance, I get to a point in the building process where I'm like, I could put Crobat here. It's just really easy to justify. All the traits I've mentioned throughout the video, the speed, the overall utility, the resistances to certain attacks, letting you check certain Pokemon, some of which has to be really situational, but you still do it. They all contribute to this Pokemon being really good. And I also just think you really have seen its dominance in the tier just through how much of a stranglehold it holds on that position of, hazard removal. I hope you guys enjoyed this though. I think this was fun for me to record, at least, because I like just going over what's it called? Random Pokemon in NU. It's fun. If for some reason you haven't been just slapping Crobat in all of your teams, I do recommend giving him a shot. He's super great. That'll be it for me for now, though. I probably should stream more of that Infinite Fusion game. It'll happen. And maybe one day we'll look over Flora Sky's post game. I just have so little desire to touch the rest of that game. And who knows, maybe I'm just taking a page out of Shofu's book and saying, if I don't want to play the rest of this game, I will not play the rest of this game. I got through the Elite Four, I got through the main story, good fucking enough for me, man. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the rest of your evening, or whatever that hell time it is where you are, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.